Hi, students. How are you doing? Welcome to Cimnanya, and thank you all so much for all the love and support. Hope you all are doing great. So I came across this video and I thought I share with us because very, very important for our community. And it was talking about pro-blackness and anti-blackness. And he also made mention about how like black people is being associated with resilience, suffering, and all that. And they sometimes believe that you must go through suffering before getting anything. And I am not saying resilience is not important, but why must it always be associated with us? Because some other people, it's so easy and they get it easily, but also we really have to fight for everything we do. And before we get anything, we will fight so hard to get them, right? And Crystal Black was also talking about how she was, they called her pro G-side when she was telling black people to lay back over when we were like all over screaming free 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 p free P, you understand what I am saying. I remember that I saw those videos. I posted them here too, how they were trying to also tell us that they also fought hand in hand with black people during George Floyd death and all that. The truth is that majority of black people saw ahead of time, but some also saw, and we all knew what was going on was really wrong, and we queued into it. But now you all can see what is going on, and everybody's like, we are not into it anymore. Let's get into this video.
Well, hello there. Y'all remember when there was a series of videos made about me calling me pro-genocide? Because I said that Afro-Palestinians were treated like shit in Palestine and that they resided in a town called Al-Abid in Gaza. Even though I said fuck the blue and white flag people too, because they're responsible for blood diamonds and a whole bunch of racism towards black people. Remember when I showed the article of Afro-Palestinians saying that they get double racism from both Palestinians and Israelis? And y'all said that I was just bringing it up at that time to be controversial, even though I've been talking about black issues globally around the world for over 4 years now. And y'all attempted to drag me. I didn't feel dragged. And now all of a sudden, it's coming out exactly what I said. And all it took was a black woman running for president of the United States. And I know what you're going to say. Oh, that's just a couple of people. They don't represent all of Palestinians. Which says to me, fuck the Afro-Palestinian stories of discrimination, which you can easily find on YouTube or written articles. It says to me, fuck the reason that Afro-Palestinians are there in the first place, which is self-evident by the town called Al-Abid, again meaning slaves. And then y'all said to me, even though I explained this in my videos, that Palestinians have always stood with black people. During the Civil Rights Movement, you said. During Black Lives Matter, you said. No. Black people stood in solidarity with Palestinians. The only time that Palestinians were talking about black issues, exactly how they do it now, is by comparing the struggle and similarity between African Americans and Palestinians, which is a false equivalency and performative. Because when they talk about African American issues, they don't just talk about it in an isolated way. No, it's always an attachment to our movement. And it's always African Americans supporting Palestinians. During the Civil Rights Movement, our leaders, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, frequently brought up the Palestinian struggle and raised awareness of Palestinians' issues. During Black Lives Matter, they attached themselves again, and black people allowed it. When it was hashtag Black Lives Matter, it all of a sudden was attached to hashtag Free Palestine. The reality is that it's ironic for Palestinians to say that they support African Americans while mistreating, abusing, discriminating towards Afro-Palestinians. And African Americans, like always, fight for other people's movements more than our own, citing that these other people stand in solidarity with us. And now because Kamala is running for office and black people are hyping it up, as we should, the Palestinians are now showing the disdain that they've always felt for black people in the first place. We are a tool to them and other people, and we allow it. It's odd to me because the other main presidential candidate, Trump, who openly speaks about his support of the blue and white flag people, has somehow been ignored. The black vote is very powerful. So if black people pulled their support from Kamala and voted third party, Trump would win. That's just facts. But this reminds me of something. The Stop Asian Hate movement. Again, another movement attached on to black people's movement, and it turned around and bit us in the ass. They blame black people for the violence against them. As a result, affirmative action was overturned because they were saying that black people were only getting into these colleges because of affirmative action. I did a video on that as well. I showed the statistics, which shows that allegedly African Americans make up 12.1% of the U.S. population, and Asians make up 5.6% of the population. That's less than half of the black population. Yet they make up more admission rates than black people, sometimes double. But they said that we benefited from affirmative action in schools. I don't say these things to be controversial. I've talked about it for over 4 years. I say this stuff because it's true. I say this because black people need to be aware of who is for us and who is hindering us. We have never fully focused on ourselves and our movements. We let everybody hitchhike and they benefit and we get nothing. We are still being used for free labor, and we allow it. And when someone like me, and I'm gonna admit to you, I think I was one of the first ones to speak up about these things, I get attacked. Y'all are still gonna find some type of excuse. For Palestinians to get angry at black people for voting for Kamala, even though there's white women for Kamala, veterans for Kamala, all of those groups, yet they choose to attack us, to get mad and turn on us for that when Kamala is the best choice for our people, for them to think that we should take a chance to vote third party, which the black vote removed would put Trump in office, which would harm black people significantly, who wants to give cops immunity for if they unjustifiably kill a black person, risking laws being passed that allow discrimination, who during the Black Lives Matter movement protests came out and said, uphold the law, show support for the brutality against protesters, refused to say that 93% of the Black Lives Matter protests were peaceful and that the other 7% was most likely caused by white supremacist groups, some even caught on camera. The same man who praised Dylan Roof, the same man who spent a shit ton of money to put out articles calling for the death penalty of the Central Park five black men falsely accused of raping a white woman. And then in 2016, because that happened in the 90s, said he believes they're guilty. The same man who would raise rent prices for black people so that they could not afford to rent in his establishment. The same man who says black jobs, the same man who said that black people embraced and really connected with his mugshot, the same man who criticized Kaepernick for taking a knee, bring awareness to death of black people by police, the same man who would make black people leave the floor when he came to his casino, the same man who wanted to do The Apprentice, black people versus white people, the same man who pushed the narrative that Obama was a terrorist and that he wasn't really American. That's who they want us risking to become president if we don't vote for Kamala. Because our issues were never a priority. Because we are always a means to an end for everybody else. There are no allies for black people. We are exploited. We are used. And whether you like it or not, whatever you want to call me, I'm telling the truth. Everything I say can be verified. 10 out of fucking 10.
The reason that I don't use or subscribe to pro-blackness is because pro-blackness versus anti-blackness are binaries that do a terrible job in helping us understand the world around us. I've been speaking about binaries all month. The reason that binaries work so well is because they put us in a mental state of this or that. They discourage critical thinking and encourage us to immediately find an ally or enemy in any situation. Good, bad, hero, villain, Democrat, Republican, straight, queer, man, woman, black, white. Create these sides and imply that nothing can exist in the middle of those two options. Going back to the point of my video, that is precisely why I think pro-blackness is a terrible way to shape the thoughts and beliefs of the African diaspora. Because there are very, very, very few examples, behaviors, or actions that you can take in isolation that are purely pro-this or anti-this. What we're really trying to do with this pro-black label is teach people to act in accordance with the betterment of the African diaspora. The first thing I want to mention is what exactly is the betterment of the African diaspora? That we have too many black people, too many African people on this planet for us to act like we just supposed to be in immediate accordance just because white people don't like us, just because white people want to take our resources. We all are experiencing an abundant amount of perspectives and realities in this thing that we call life. Second thing I want to say is that if you define your version of the betterment of the African diaspora and you want people to align on behalf of that, I think the last thing you should do is act like there are two sides to this entire thing. Your existence, your participation, your survival inherently in this Western, colonial, imperialist, patriarchal, capitalist, racist society is damn near already anti-black. Act like just because you have a black wife and kids, even though you are complicit in the systems and the structures around you, that makes you pro-black. I think that's insane. Here's what I believe. I believe if you want people to act in accordance and alignment with the betterment of black people, of the African diaspora, I think you should just tell people what's happening and let them decide. Instead of arguing if interracial relationships are pro or anti-black, let's just talk about reality. What the reality is that we are a group of people that have had their self-esteem intentionally beat down by one of the most oppressive structures in human history. The reality is that the rigid and exclusive beauty standard that we've seen for the last 500-600 years has done a very large toll on how our young black girls and boys see themselves in the mirror. The reality is many of you are not prepared to carry the hurt and confusion that comes with being a child that is birthed in between one of the most pungent racial climates in the entire human history. If you can answer to me, more importantly, if you can answer to yourself what unifying your life, your resources, your finances, your community, your family, with that non-black person will do in relation to anything I just mentioned, whatever answer you come up with, especially because your love life, in this example, isn't the only way you participate in the world around you. Whatever decision that you make, understand that the people and the community around you carries the weight of your decision, but more importantly, understand that you carry the weight of your decisions. And you got to live with the person and the decisions that you make in this life. Whether that be pro or anti this, is beyond me. The life that you want to live, because many of you are making these decisions and trying to run away from the implications that you know your decisions have, not only on you, but the people around you. Peace out. We know in the black community, at least in America, it is your pain, it is your suffering, and it is your poverty that gives you credibility. There's nothing inherently wrong about this. Pulling social proof and credibility from resilience is not a bad thing at all. What I do believe is that it can be very destructive to teach the people whose pain is the building blocks for the entire rest of the world Their pain is what they should use to understand and validate themselves. Keep in mind, I'm not applying good or bad to any example that I mentioned. What I am looking at is context. What I am saying is that given the context that Black people, African people across the entire diaspora are in, it will be very useful for us to view ourselves in more dimensions outside of our pain and suffering. Especially because the more that we view ourselves in that single dimension, we validate and excuse the robbery and the torture that the colonial powers are performing to us. There's this book that I love called Crazy Like Us by Ethan Waters, and it talks about how through colonialism, the American psyche has also been spread. The book talks about how different cultures, whether that be historically or geographically, understand values and ideas such as pain, suffering, love, relationships, time very differently. I grew up immersed in many different cultures across the African diaspora, whether that be Latin American culture, whether that be African American culture, Caribbean culture, African culture. I love the book because it really validated my experience in seeing how many different cultures in the African diaspora understand their traumatic experiences in many different ways. Here's what I believe from all of the observations and insights that I've gathered in my years of living. I think pain, suffering, and resilience are important, especially in the context of the African diaspora. I also believe that we should entertain more dimensions to validate ourselves, our experiences, and our social proof. Because credibility should never be earned from a single avenue, from a single line of experiences in life. Understanding that someone has just been through something is never enough to understand the intricate humanity that sits inside somebody. Peace out.
So this is all I got from this video, and shout out to all of them. I mean, Crystal Black, I have been following you for a longer time, and I already know what you stand for. And the truth is that she did not lie. And why? I remember I posted most of her videos here during the period where what's going on was happening. And the truth is that, most of the things I learned I learned from you people, right? And why the whole thing was going on, some people really insisted that this is not our problem, this is not our case, that we can support them from wherever they are, probably by donating, but this is not our problem. You all said it. Some people also said, we can always assist, which I do not have any problem with anybody that also can, because I personally too did a great job. Like I am hailing myself. I did a great job because I posted more than 30, 40 videos when it comes to Palestine, and I do not regret it. But one thing I already said is that I am not sure that I would be putting in a lot of work. I will not put a lot of work like I did back then, right? Why? You all already know why. You cannot be for my own people and expect me to come out and speak for you, right? And I will speak when it is necessary, but when it is not necessary, there is no need coming out to speak, right? So I remember that she said it, and she also mentioned that most of they are also using us because they feel like, Black people are always there for everybody. And the truth is that Black people, they've always been there for everybody, both Asian and every other race and all that. They always come out fully, which they did not hesitate to also do what they know how to do best, coming out to assist and all that. And in the end, now this also tells me, or made me understand how people feel about you. Because don't tell me that all of a sudden don't tell me that you love me and all of a sudden there is this sudden hate from nowhere just for being kind and nice to you. So that also, it kind of shows that the person never actually cared for you or never valued you. I mean, it's just something we can easily sit down and understand. Some people are when they are benefiting from you, it is okay, but when they are not benefiting from you, I mean, that is the time you really see their true color, the anti-Blackness, and the rest of it coming out fully well and all that. I mean, the whole thing is that some people really do not understand that sometimes you have to prioritize yourself before prioritizing any other person, which I think Black people are doing. I mean, they did correct thing by putting themselves first, because you cannot see your house burn and all you want to do is go and help another person. First of all, you do what you are supposed to do for yourself before trying to assist other people. But you all actually came fully out while your own house were burning just to make sure that other people are okay. Still, it is not enough. This is to show you that there is nothing you will do that will be enough. They absolutely want your sweat and also your blood, which will never happen. The truth is that we learn every day, and that is something that I mean, this is a very huge lesson. You people really do not understand how huge this is. It really means a lot to me. But also, it's a learning this thing, and at the same time, a great time for us to reflect. I mean, knowing fully well that nobody is in support of you, or nobody will ever come out for you, because that is just who they are. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.